All right, and that was the Thelonious Monk Trio with Oscar Pettiford and Art Blakey on the drums, and that was Just You, Just Me.
What was great about that is that uh, when Art, I mean, you can hear a whole lot of Art was able, because of the fact it was only a trio. He was able to utilize a lot of his tricks. I mean, his signature. Let's put it that way, using that word again that I used before about you. First of all, if you didn't know, if you had to know that was Art Blakey. If you didn't know, then you didn't know your drummers. There was that Chinese effect sounding cymbal, the deep. Or you hear what I mean? You can hear what I mean by the Oriental sound to the cymbal. He had those beautiful. Those are K Zildjians. I know it for a fact. Then he did his solo. Was a one-handed solo. Everything he did on the drums was with the left hand, and he also used the hi-hat for doing so. But he kept the time with the right. That was another trademark of his, keeping the time. In other words, accompanying himself, which wasn't a bad idea, because you're sitting there accompanying everybody else. Why not accompany yourself? Nobody else is going to do it for you. And then the famous press roll, which became an Art Blakey signature, and a lot of people copied, but that was his. And then the dot 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 the triplet little thing he does with the left hand on it with the stick on the rim. It's I heard just about anything you would want to hear of Art Blakey on that particular record.
What I enjoyed was the elegance and the economy of his accompaniment.
Oh, it was simple. It was beautiful.
He does. Him and Oscar Pettiford laid down that beautiful thing for Monk. One thing that struck me during this drum solo when he was keeping the time with the right hand on the cymbal, he really jumped. He really straddled the beats with the stuff he was doing with his left hand.
Yeah.
It seemed like tremendous independence between his left hand.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the right.
But the important thing there is that Art is showing what a good accompanist he was. I mean, he never played a solo over Monk's solo. He played the drum. He accompanied him, and he only took advantage of the spaces. I mean, when he or at the end of a phrase, he'd do a little something, but he never clobbered Monk while Monk was playing, and Art is famous for that, of being a great accompanist. He does that in his own group, today. He does not. He saves his solos for his solos, and that's the secret of good drumming. You can inspire by playing a lot of subtle things. I mean, I do that, to keep that motion going.
Right.
I mean, that's important, but it should always be an undercurrent,
Right.
not an overcurrent. It's somebody else is playing. You just don't. You're not supposed to play a drum solo over them.
Right.
And Art never did that.
We're going to get to the Jazz Messengers in just a moment, but I'd like to play one more track of Art Blakey with a big band. And this is something written by Al Cohn. It's called The Outer World, and it was recorded back in 1957 in a big band. We'll hear solos by John Coltrane and Idris Suleiman on the trumpet with this all-star big band that recorded for Bethlehem. This was not a working band. This was something just done for recording, but it was a great band. The tenors are Al Cohn and Coltrane plays the solo on Al Cohn's The Outer World. I think that's what we have. Yeah. And we'll hear Art Blakey on the drums. Sorry about the sound there. Mel and I were talking. It might have been one of those early mono records that
Yeah,
they tried to stereoize and
yeah,
put the
they-
drums out of phase.
That's what they do. They when they create a false stereo that the cymbals all of a sudden, these cymbals were originally recorded in mono, and all of a sudden you're hearing them from two sides, so it creates a false effect, and it also distorts.
Yeah.
And rivet cymbals more than anything really distort. But you dig that how that's a hard tempo.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it does plod a little bit. There is a certain amount of plodding in it where it just sounds that way. I think it gets a little heavy at times, but I think that's more the recording than what actually was going on. And but it swings,
Yeah.
and Art was a master of that kind of tempo anyway, and because that's not an easy tempo.
It's a
at
very
all.
hard tempo.
But I mean, he had a great feeling going all the way through it, and
Yeah, it's funny. It's a hard tempo, and I'll bet that there are a lot of groups that never play a tempo like that. It's either a ballad,
yeah.
or medium or up. But that
Exactly.
is a very hard tempo.
No, it's a
especially
hard
for a big
tempo to
band.
play. Oh,
Uh,
sure, because you got all that weight, and
Yeah.
in a studio, regardless, there's always that separation of the sections, and that's the way they record it. I don't know what studio that was recorded in here in New York,
Yeah, I don't know.
because I wasn't living here then. But although I learned the studios later on, it didn't sound like Webster Hall to me.
No.
So at Webster Hall, for some reason or other, you could hear.
Yeah.
It was the ballroom. For some reason or other, they could spread you around, and you still didn't have any problems. But there were other studios that I worked in later on. When I moved back here to New York, a lot of them are makeshift. They were something else, and they became studios, and they'd separate the band all over the place, and it would be. And then sometimes they had to use these baffles, which make it even harder. They set the baffles up around the drums and all that, so it doesn't leak into the
Bleed.
bass. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would create time problems. But I didn't hear. I mean, I thought they did very well. Lead trumpet player, I think, had to be Ray Copeland.
Yeah.
Really stayed with Art beautifully. I mean, had some nice feeling there.
Again, that was called The Outer World, written by Al Cohn, played by the Art Blakey Big Band on Bethlehem, and again John Coltrane and Idris Suleiman were the soloists on that track. It's 4 minutes after 1. You're tuned in to WKCR FM in New York, 89.9 on your FM dial. Lauren Schoenberg here, hosting I shouldn't say hosting, but being the host to our guest host this afternoon. You remember the restaurants in Buffalo? Your Host.
Your Host, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, did you know those?
I
huh?
have family from Buffalo.
Oh,
sure.
that's right.
Your Host on Delaware Avenue.
That's right.
Yep.
It's one on Main Street too.
Hmm. We're talking with Mel Lewis, who's from Buffalo, and but he's in New York now, and we're doing the history of jazz drums, Part 6, and we're dealing with Art Blakey, and we have two cuts right here, which I'd like to thank our mutual friend Kenny Washington for helping me select the titles for these shows.
Uh-huh.
And these next two were two that he said, Lauren, if you're doing Art Blakey, you got to play these two. Even though they're long, we're going to play them in their
All
entirety.
right, we will.
And one is called Roll Call, and it's from a Hank Mobley record session for Blue Note. It features Freddie Hubbard, Wynton Kelly on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and so it's right, Freddie Hubbard, Hank Mobley, and rhythm section of Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, and Art Blakey. And right now we'll hear Roll Call. This is much more of the setting in which Art Blakey recorded and was known, and then we'll finally get to a track by his long-standing group, the Jazz Messengers. But first, Roll Call. was ferocious.
That's what you could say. But that's what art was. That's Blakey at his best. And solo wise, accompanying wise, I mean, it's just constant drive, never let up.
Let me just
Starting at the beginning.
Let me just identify it again. It was called Roll Call, and it's on the Blue Note label. Hank Mobley on tenor, Freddie Hubbard on trumpet, Wynton Kelly piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and of course Art Blakey on drums. From 1960, yeah, he was really just so inspired there.
Well, you know, another thing is that he's getting into his prime there too. You know, this is when Blakey was really happening. You know, I mean, because he'd been playing all these years prior to this, and now he's starting to really be what he really always was. But I mean, now he's reached that point. Because when we figure, like, you know, that was 60, this is 89 going on 90.
30 years.
That's 30 years, and he is over 70 now. So here he's like around 40 years old or approaching.
About 43.
Yeah, so that's prime years. I mean, he's finally hit everything he's been working at, and you can hear it there. It's wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
Then it continues, of course, for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But it took that much time to develop everything that became Art Blakey.
Yeah. I love all the explosion kind of things he does behind the trumpet and all the different, all the
So
1,000 different things.
He had probably more cliches than anybody in the world. He kept and he used them, but which was all signature. I mean, that's Art Blakey. That's Art Blakey. It's definitely Art Blakey, you know. But he always knew when, and the point is to know when and where, you know. And he always knew when and where. You know, you know, that's on every record he ever made. And then the solo where he did with the bass drum, boom, 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 you know, and he answered himself, the call and response thing. That's Art Blakey. You know, that's him, and all these little fills, you know, that's Art Blakey, and that strong ride cymbal, you know, with that low pitched cymbal he had, that great 22-incher, I think it was. Might have been even bigger, but I think it was a 22, with rivets in it, and the strong hi-hat on 2 and 4, which was also a Blakey trademark.
Right.
It's all there. I mean, and then he went into that like a conga drum rhythm there in the middle, which caused another big push all of a sudden. It really started driving even harder. These are trademarks of art that he uses on almost everything. But that's art. That's him.
Yeah.
But it's the way he uses them. You know, that's the whole thing.
How about the philosophy of playing and accompanying solos and doing all those things and everything? Where's that coming from? Do you know? I mean,
well, that's coming from knowledge. You know, I mean, his heart was always there because he's always was a heart player. He loves to play. It's obvious that at his age today, he's still going strong and still has his band. You know, and never thought of retiring. You know, like a lot of other people I know that did when they got up there. And not only that, their drumming suffered. They got to be say over 65, and they actually slowed down.
Like Gene.
Well, Gene, Joe Jones too, Papa Joe. You know, because from lack of playing and you know, always waiting for somebody else to call them to work,
right.
And not really trying to change what you're doing. You know, at a certain point, you have to change. You gotta like get into what's happening. See, Blakey was always such a modern drummer that he's so close to what is still happening. You don't know. I mean, he didn't have to really change because if he plays today like he plays on that record, and he does really, you know. I don't know if he's slowed down at all. I don't even believe that because, but I know he can't play as strong as he used to. I know he's he has hearing problems. So, which he developed over the years. And so when you don't hear as well, naturally you have to change something. Something will change automatically. But I think the inner fire and the concept, you know, of what Art Blakey is all about is still there and it's still strong. And as long as he's got some good young players around him, he's happy. And if he's happy, he's going to play good.
Yeah.
You know, and he's going to do his things because he knows how to do them and he knows when to do them.
For those folks who don't know, it was Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers that introduced Wynton Marsalis to the jazz world about 10 years ago or so. And right now we're going to hear from one of the many outstanding versions of the Jazz Messengers, from the original things with Clifford Brown and Lou Donaldson to Hank Mobley and Kenny Dorham and beyond, and of course Bill Hardman and many others. This particular track is a great one. It's called Mosaic, and it's from a session that was originally unissued but issued in the 1970s by the Jazz Messengers. And this is the band with Freddie Hubbard trumpet, Wayne Shorter on tenor, Curtis Fuller on trombone, Cedar Walton on piano, Jimmy Merritt on the bass.
This is probably one of the best groups Art ever had, actually.
Yeah, and this is a great one. This is called Mosaic. It's from March 1962. Again, the focus is on Art Blakey, courtesy of Mel Lewis, who is our host for the Part 6 of the History of Jazz Drums here on WKCR-FM in New York, 89.9 on your FM dial. It's 121. And again, Art Blakey on drums.